G'day everyone, my name is Tom Craig and you're listening to my podcast, The Help Side, where we speak to some of the most recognisable names in world hockey and get an insight into who they are, what they're about and what makes them tick. Now if you like what you hear, feel free to follow our socials at The Help Side on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, and be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. We'd absolutely love that. G'day everyone, you're listening to part B of our two-part Help Side chat with Jamie Dwyer. Make sure you don't just start here. Scroll back and listen to part A if you missed it, and we'll see you back here shortly. For the rest of you, welcome back. Jamie is just about to walk us through a blow-by-blow of his gold medal winning gold in the Athens Olympics and how he deals with the pressure that comes with such a momentous occasion. It's a pretty good place to start, so let's go. To the final, 2004. There's probably a gold medal hiding in this house somewhere. But...
yeah, I won't tell you where it is.
Can you talk to us about the game and the goal? Because perhaps one of the most famous moments in Australian men's hockey history is provided by yourself with that goal, which I'm sure a lot of listeners have seen. But can you talk about the game firstly and then...
Yeah, well, I remember on the way to the game, I remember a few guys throwing up in the bus.
Really?
I was like, whoa. I jumped on the bus and I had my set playlist that I went through for that tournament. And I was like, oh, geez, I'm really nervous and I'm excited, but it's nervous. Because when you go to that game, you know you're going to get a medal. You just want the right one. So it's sort of a weird feeling, but I remember jumping on and I was like, geez, I'm so nervous. And then a few guys in the back, like dry reaching, I went, whoa, they're really nervous. I'm not like that. And then the warm-up, you get all that energy out. And I did the warm-up and I was first coming in after the warm-up to the change rooms. And I look up and there's this Dutch kid, he would have been 10, 11, same age as like my son now. And he yells out in perfect English, wearing his orange shirt, orange shorts and hat, "Hey, Australia, you're going to lose." And I just started laughing. I was like, oh, it's just sort of loosening me up a little bit. Then, the game, we dominated. I've watched it a couple of times since then. And seriously, we could have won 6 or 7-1. We just couldn't put our chances away. I think I had about 10 chances. Troy Elder had a couple of really good opportunities. Mick had a couple of good opportunities. We played brilliantly. And if you watch the game, we're a much better team. And even if you ask the Dutch guys, they'd admit that. So, but unfortunately, we didn't take our chances. It was 1-1 and it went to shootouts. I didn't go to shootouts, it went to extra time. And then if it was still a draw after extra time, it goes to strokes. And I knew I was the 5th stroke taker for if it went that far. And I really didn't want to go to strokes because I saw what happened to Brent Livermore 4 years earlier where it got saved. So we'll try our best to score. Anyway, we got a corner right on the first period of extra time and someone runs over the coach, relays the message, and the message was for me to take it. It was a variation corner, but because of how they ran, I knew that I had a very good chance of the corner coming to me. And when
you say variation corner, quickly, can you explain that?
So the ball comes out, and depending on how the opponents run, our flicker says yes or no. Yep. And if he says no, it comes to me. If he says yes, it goes to the other side, to the right. I was on the left, or it goes to the right. And they run a 1-3 every single time. So I knew, like, 90% chance here, it's coming to me. And I had a couple of opportunities before in normal time, and I flicked it, and the keeper saved it. So the call came out, and I said, let's just flick it. Like, I wasn't confident. I was like, let's just get a shot on target and get the rebound. And, of course, the drag flicker at that time was Troy Elder. He's like, yeah, let's just do that. And I think Brent Livermore said, no, let's stick to the call, which on this day, I think he could have been thinking about, let's just flick it. But that was a pretty gutsy call. Okay, let's stick to the coach when he's got two guys young saying, maybe we should take it. So it's credit to him for sticking and trusting the coach. So it comes out, bunts over to me, and normally I would flick this ball. I've been practicing flicking it for years in this variation. But the guy was on me a little bit too quickly, so I decided to hit it. It missed his foot by about a centimetre or 2 centimetres, went in between the keeper's pads and up into the goal. And it felt like time stopped. Well, I'm sure time stopped because it's like the ball went and hit the net. I look over to the umpire, he blows a goal, and then I'm just like, whoa, what the hell just happened here? And I run off like a crazy guy. And yeah, it was just, the feeling was just relief, like we earned it. It just felt like the best feeling ever. It still doesn't sink in to this day that I won a gold medal at the Olympics. I still pinch myself. It's just a feeling that I had this dream when I was a little kid that I'd play hockey or cricket or some sort of sport for Australia, and go to the Olympics and win a gold medal. And the journey it took me to get there was rocky, and it was hard and sometimes awesome, but it was a journey that I committed to. And just for that goal to go in was something that, a dream come true. And the way it all happened, like Terry Walsh, he was the coach of Holland. He didn't give me a chance playing for Australia back in 99, 2000, to score a winning goal like against him, who I'm friends with now. Barry, who was a great mentor, like the mates who we still keep in touch to this day. Like everything, like felt like it was just meant to be. And yeah, it was obviously for me and probably for the other 15 guys in that team, it was a dream come true.
It's a good segue to talk about pressure, I think, because bit of pressure on that moment, you'd have to say. Did you feel it at the time?
Yes and no. I felt pressure probably before the game. But once you're into the rhythm of it, you sort of just you turn into robot mode and just go through what you practice every day. The ball coming over to me, I remember just smash it. Like whatever's meant to be will be, and hopefully it'll get in there, which it did. But I didn't feel real pressure because we practiced that corner thousands of times, thousands, and it was our go-to for a big game, and I knew it was going to happen, whether it was in the semi-final or final. So, and I've been practicing this my whole life, to be honest. I remember playing in Rockhampton on the grass with Mark Knowles, pretending we were in the Olympics against someone, and we'd shoot and see what happens. And most times I missed, but pressure, yeah, not really, not at that moment. I knew I could execute and see what happened.
Gotcha. And from there, I remember asking, I played hockey. My friends at primary school knew that, and I remember talking about the Kookaburras, and I remember most of my mates only knew one name in the Kookaburras, and I think it's fair to say that moment, that goal, that World Player of the Year kind of elevated you to the public eye beyond hockey circles, and you had a manager, and you were kind of one of the few hockey players who actually became a recognisable sporting figure in Australia. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I didn't see myself like that, and I had a coach, Barry Denzer, who would knock me down pretty much straight away if I was thinking like that, because it was all about the team. I wish Baz said, yeah, you are good, you're great, go for it, and just to see how I would go in that, with his blessing to be a little bit more out there and push the game a little bit more and promote it. Not on the same level, but like Michael Jordan did for basketball. Everyone knew Michael Jordan, and then he won the gold medal in '92, and then NBA exploded. I wanted to really promote the game here in Australia and push it as much as I could. I knew I had an opportunity to do that. I got reined in quite a bit, and I know why I got reined in is because we wanted the best for the team, and I didn't want other players in that team looking at myself and thinking, oh, Jamie, he's a bit arrogant, or he's doing this. So, and I took off over to play in Holland pretty much straight away as well. So I was sort of out of the news, or I didn't know what was going on when I was living and playing over there. So yeah, I guess in one way, I wish I could have promoted the sport a little bit more through that me being a well-known name and through me scoring that goal and becoming the world's best player and sort of growing the sport here in Australia, and I think I missed that opportunity. On the other hand, on the field, I wanted just to keep getting better. I had a taste of success and I loved it. I had a taste of losing as well in the 2002 World Cup final. I hated it. So I just wanted to go out there and just keep winning because I knew we had a good bunch of guys that really had a good opportunity to create a dynasty. And so on the field, I just kept pushing myself, kept pushing my teammates. The dynamics had changed a little bit, but we had a great group, which I just wanted to keep pushing, and me personally push them to be better. But off the field, with me being overseas for the majority of the year in Holland and me not being able to push the sport here as much as what I would have liked, is something that I wanted to happen. I wish did happen.
Yeah, okay. 2006. The interesting thing is that the dynasty happened as far as like world rankings concerned, and I guess minor tournaments. But then a few setbacks. 2006 World Cup, lost to a good German team in the final. You did your hamstring before that game, and then 2008 again, cruel twist of fate, but missed out on the final with that game against the Spanish in the semi-final. Was that team different to the 2014? Could you have predicted that, or was that not sport?
Really. I think that's just sport. It wasn't just me who got injured in 2006. We had a few other injuries. Really, really good player people that got injured. Wellesley was injured. I think Shooty missed that tournament as well. So we had a couple of good players that were missing. I wish I didn't tear my hamstring. I wish I played that final. I think I could have made a difference, and it hurt watching that. Watching Christopher Zeller dominate pretty much for the Germans. But there's little instances, the goal that Bjorn Emling scored off the back of his stick these days would be different. But that's sport, and that's been happening in hockey for 50, 60 years. Just wasn't meant to be in that 2006 World Cup. Saying that, we played our best hockey with what we had, and we got beaten by a better team. So in the end, it hurt, but it didn't hurt as much as if we played poorly or if we just didn't have the right mix. I just think that we played well for what we had, and we could have won it. Could have went either way. That's just what happened in that tournament, and it was a great tournament. 2008, we had a good team as well. I think we made a couple of selection issues there. I think I would have had definitely a different team to what went, but Brent Livermore missed out, who I think probably should have made it. I'm not too sure who he should have made it for. The problem is that Rob Hemming was playing unbelievable at centre half, and that was Brent's main position, so to put Brent somewhere else was hard, but his experience, I think, would have helped us at that Olympic Games. But yeah, I think us and Spain were the best two teams in the world, and Spain beat us in the semi-final, and then the Germans do what the Germans do and beat them in the final. But I think the culture and the confidence and the whole team bond was very similar through that whole period. We just didn't have the quality in the finishing touches like we did in Athens. Like Michael Brennan was an unbelievable player in 2004, then retired in 2005. Like his skill set and his confidence and his just the way he played hockey helped us win that Olympics. And he wasn't there. Grant Schubert wasn't there in 2006, and then got injured in 2008 as well. Like his pressing and what he brings to the team, we missed. So we had a lot of things not go our way, and in the end, maybe we didn't deserve it. We weren't 10%, 5% better than the rest of the world. We were just thereabouts. But yeah, that was just us as a team, not as good as probably what we could have been.
Do you have a theory on selecting a great team? What's your theory behind that?
it's one of the most challenging things, I think, for any coach, especially later on, because they get to know people's personalities and girlfriends, wives, partners, whatever, and you know what they do for work. So once you get to know someone more personally, it's hard to tell them, you know, you're killing their dream or you're not selecting them. I think when you first come into a team, you don't know everyone that well. You can sort of just pick off talent and what you think's best to go, what best team to go away. So that was hard for Barry. You know, it's hard for all the coaches, Rick and now Colin Batch or whoever is selecting these teams. I think it's very hard. So I don't have a theory on it. I just think you just got to pick the best players and the best group that's going to go away. I think you need good blokes as well, because you need everyone to trust each other. You don't want any sort of angst or fighting within the group. Saying that, you look at the Australian cricket team when they had, you know, unbeatable Ricky Ponting and Glenn McGrath and all those guys. They had a great team. They had Shane Warne, who was, you know, a little bit out there, but they could control him. So it's definitely a balance thing, something that hopefully I get the chance to do in the future is to coach, hopefully, the Australian team. And I'm not going to enjoy that part of selecting the team. So I haven't quite figured it out, but I will, if I do get to that stage, I will go to talk to Barry and Rick and those coaches and sort of see what their beliefs are and what their philosophies are with picking a good team.
It's a good segue because after 2008, it heralded a new era in the history of the Australian Kookaburras when Rick Charlesworth took over. It was his first major appointment within Australia since the success of the Hockeyroos in the 90s. How has that changed for you?
Completely different, different dynamic. Totally, Rick's a completely different personality to Parry to what I've been coached to the previous 8 years. I was excited for the challenge because I needed something personally to be a better player, and I needed something, a new fresh look at fresh eyes to look at my game and to dissect it and be able to, you know, add things. And he was great like that for me at the start. Ricky, he was good for me, my game personally. 2009 was probably my best year. You know, I won EHL for Bloomingdale, won for the Dutch Championship. We won everything for Australia. Got voted best player in the world, and that was the first year that I got voted best player in the world, where I honestly believed I was the best player in the world. It was 2009. So he created this different environment, different atmosphere, and brought a lot of what he'd done with the Hockeyroos back in the 90s to us, which I believed was going to win us a World Cup and hopefully an Olympic Games. And we did. We won the World Cup in 2010 and 2014 and fell short in 2014. What I learned from Rick and from what I learned from Rick and Barry is that both of them, a mixture of them, would, I think, become the perfect coach. What Rick's strengths were, Barry was his weaknesses, and what Barry's strengths were Rick's weaknesses. And I think them together, not that would have been possible, but a combination of their coaching style is perfect. And I think Colin Batch now at the moment is like coaching similar to how I would want to coach, to be honest. But Rick was an interesting guy. You know, you've been coached by him. He's smart. He speaks really well. He finds some things difficult when it's personal and needs to chat to you about a few things. You know, he nearly starts crying. But I think what he did in that period of time was good for the Kookaburras.
In 2012, there was an interesting part of the game that I guess he brought in was, well, I'm not sure if he did actually. You can correct me here, but there was a psychologist who worked with the team, developing culture and had a pretty significant role within the team. It's a big part of sports psychology. I think Neil McLean was involved with Barry Dancer as a sports psychologist, but in a different capacity to, I think, what Rick employed the psychologist in. Can you talk a little bit about that? 2013,
he brought in a new team of psychiatrists, and Karim was someone he worked with back with Hockeyroos as well. It was difficult for me, really difficult, because I was the person that they sort of wanted to knock down, I guess, and my relationship with Rick before that was fine, it was great. And then Corinne came on board, and the first thing she said to me, "You're in retirement mode." I went, "No, I still plan to play for Australia for a few more years." And I was put on the spot in a lot of team meetings, which I had no idea I was getting put on the spot. Just little things like my son wanted to walk out in 2014 final, and he was allowed to, but she said, "No, that's not allowed." Just stuff like that, which really hurt me personally. And then the way, I missed out on the 2014 Commonwealth Games by an email at midnight on a Wednesday night, and then the next day from Rick saying that I wasn't selected, and then the next day him telling everyone that he's not the coach anymore. So that it all just didn't feel right, and our relationship, mine and Rick's, was not the same as what it was for the previous 4 years, which upset me a lot, because I thought I was treated unfairly. I knew why they were doing it, I could understand why they were doing it, but I still think some instances were unnecessary. And I just caught up with the manager not so long ago, actually, Martin Ferrari, and we spoke about a few of those instances, and it was not a good time for me. It was really disappointing, the whole way it went about it. And then Rick to leave the team like that also disappointed me, because I thought, we just won everything, you can go 2 more years and finish off your job, but he didn't do it, which was unfortunate. So that was a hard time, but it was probably the hardest time, definitely, 2014, throughout my career, being put on the spot, being made an example of. Could have handled it differently. Look back, I was very emotional about it and just said a lot of things off the cuff, where I need to go away and just think about some of the words I should have said and could have said. But that year, I didn't want to play hockey. I came home, I wanted to quit. I did quit about 10 times. I didn't want to go to this and that, and even the World Cup, once we won, it was great that we won and how we won, but I was happy for the team and the guys. It wasn't a success. It was a success, but it hurt a lot, and I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy my hockey, and it was a tough few years, a couple of years.
Last episode, I interviewed current Kookaburra Tom Wickham. It's pretty tricky to summarise his story in just a few short sentences, but suffice it to say, it's a wonderful narrative of determination, commitment, and the lengths one man will go to realise his dream of playing for his country. Here's a peek.
You're getting a scholarship, like you a scholarship, you get to move to Perth.
When was that?
That was end of 2010. I remember moving into this weatherboard house a couple of k's away from the hockey stadium, like house on stilts, like thing was falling apart. In summer, like the aircon, there's no aircon, and it was just like, in summer the house was so hot, like you may as well just sit outside in the sun. And then in the winter it was that cold because the walls were that thin. And I was living there for 2 years, and like the shower didn't actually have a sprinkler head. It was just literally like a hose, and like just this straight stream of water would run out of it. And as it hit your back, it'd go everywhere, and every day you'd just be mopping up the floor, like doing that for 2 years just to chase this mission.
Why did you have to live like that though?
Well, when I moved, because I couldn't see where I was going to move, at the time, the AAS helped me, and I don't think they and me being me, I was like, yeah, just get me there. So this was the house. I was like, well, I don't want to pay too much. I think I paid like $320 at the time. I was living with my girlfriend, and we would split the rent, and like that was where we lived. Just this massive block of sand with a house on stilts. The ovens barely work. The toilets always had to get fixed. Like, it was just a crappy house. Remember my car getting smashed windows, like just living in this thing, but I was on this mission. And when I, like that year of 2011, like I think back to that now, and from 2011, I just remember the blue, white, red singlets running around a hockey pitch like madmen with like 40 blokes just stumbling through, because I'd never been in an environment where like I wasn't really the best, or I wasn't like the one challenging, and in my head I was just like, I'm just going to compete because I can play. I don't remember making friends with anyone. I don't remember, well, I made friends with one bloke, or a few people, like, but not connecting with them as like teammates, or not diving into this environment of high performance. I would just go to training, leave training, and didn't really understand how to live in that environment. And it was such a blur that year of my first year in the program, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to survive.
More of that back in the Help Side episode with Tom Wickham. But for now, let's get back to our final segment with Jamie Dwyer. Let's go. Your all-time Australian Games record has just been surpassed by a good mate of yours, Eddie Ockenden, and you ended up going to Rio Olympics as the oldest ever Australian hockey player, I believe. What brought you back?
I thought that, like I said, I'd retired a few times, but during that time I was still playing pretty good hockey, I thought. And the whole Corinne and Rick thing was out of the program, so I looked at it as a fresh start, and I didn't want to end my career feeling the way I did. So I said to myself, just trust my ability, trust my body, and go and enjoy my hockey with you guys. And when it was hard, I said to myself, just treat it like a job. Just go there, do your job, do it well because you're bloody good at your job, and then go home. Enjoy the games, enjoy the fun times when we go away. But when it got hard, just, okay, this is my job, rock up on time, before on time, do your job, go home. So I looked at hockey and playing for the Australian team completely differently than what I had for the previous 8 years. I knew I wasn't going to be the best player in the world, but I knew I could contribute to the team. 2015, I scored the most goals I've ever scored for Australia. I played the most games ever for Australia with the best goal-to-game ratio that I've ever had. Yes, a couple of games were against Samoa and Fiji, which I scored a few times, but if you take those games away from it, and my ratio goals to games was unreal. And that gave me confidence that I could do it. And I remember Graham Reid, the coach, said, we want you not to train as much. I said, no, I'm training as much as everyone else. I want to prove to myself, prove to the guys that I can train every day and still be, a valuable part for this team. Then leading into 2016, I still felt I was okay. My body was starting to struggle a little bit. I think mentally, once you know you're going to retire, you think, your body starts to, for some reason, starts to struggle a little bit. But I was physically fine over at Rio. We just didn't play well, all of us. There were a couple of guys who played well, but in general, we didn't have enough guys who played well. And I put that back to the 2013, 2014, that whole build-up was so mumbled-jumbled that it didn't leave us in a good position for the next 2 years. And now what I've seen, it's been excellent since then, and I'm really proud that we've gone through, everyone's gone through that period. But it was a tough couple of years, but 15, 16 were very enjoyable for me, just to prove to myself, to everyone, that I could play hockey and play well.
A lot of you hear a lot of elite athletes, especially in team sports, speak about how hard it gets when their mates start to disappear from the team. A lot of people retire early 30s, especially in a sport like hockey. Things get in the way. Life, family, you need to get a job, make a living, basically. Was that hard for you?
Definitely, very hard. I had a few good mates leave, like DY, A couple others, that's sort of been happening throughout my whole career, I guess, mates leaving and coming and going. The hardest part was, I guess, the new generation of guys that came in were a little bit different to like my old beliefs, I guess, so I had to adapt to that, and I had to, accept and like sort of learn from the younger guys, and that's one thing I did when I went to training. I learned from you and from the younger guys on and off the field, and more than probably what you guys know. But it's always hard when your good mates leave, because if something goes wrong on tour, you go and chat there. But I always had Knowlesy. He was there as sort of a guy I could always go to and have a chat to. And I guess that also, through 2013, 2014, also disrupted my relationship with Knowlesy a little bit. I trusted him, he trusted me, but he had to do what Rick and Corinne were doing, and sometimes I didn't believe that, and I could see he didn't believe it, but he couldn't say anything, so he was sort of stuck in a bit of an awkward position as well. But yeah, through my whole career, I had mates come in and out, but that's, one of the things I appreciate is I've met so many different people and so many different personalities here in Australia and also overseas. So, overall, I'm very happy with, getting to play for Australia for so long and going overseas and meeting new people and have friendships forever.
I remember your last day at training, cleaning out your locker. Can you talk to us about that? Because you'd been in Perth for 17 years, playing for Australia, most capped Kookaburra ever. How did it feel checking out for the final time?
Yeah, it was pretty sad, obviously. I put a lot of time and effort into playing for Australia. But on the other hand, I was ready. I knew the time was right to move on. I've got a lovely family. We've set up nicely here in Perth. So I was ready. I'd set up my businesses. So I was ready to move on into that life. When I remember my last training at the stadium, cleaning out my locker, and it was sad because that part of my life, which I loved and cherished so much, was not going to happen anymore. And you sort of I appreciate it more now. Like the first couple of years when you leave international hockey in that environment, it's pretty tough. Like it's really tough, because there's one part of me thinking I can still do it and still be out there and I want to do it. And then there's the other part where, no, you're not doing it. This is your new life. So your new life, sort of, it's different. You miss those moments. You miss that nervous energy of running out onto the field with your mates, playing for Australia, wearing the green and gold, like chucking on the green and gold shirt to go out there to play someone. Those little moments you miss a lot, and something that I was lucky, like I said, I was the most capped player until recently, that I got to do so much of. But those moments you can't replace. You can have birthdays with your kids and wedding anniversaries and stuff with your wife, but that little thing of representing a country, get that nervous energy at your peak, at your prime, going out there to battle, is something that it's hard. Yeah, it's irreplaceable. Coaching can replace it a little bit, but still it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite hard, but it's quite, it's something you have to accept and move on.
There's a lot of accounts of that difficulty of long-standing elite athletes withdrawing from the sport, retiring, and then kind of having that lost couple of years really struggling with who they are, I guess, because a lot of who you are is wrapped up in what you do. What's your take on that?
Well, I was lucky. I think because I retired when I chose to retire. Like if you break a leg or don't get selected or something, that would be even harder. And I know the stats because I'm in the Australian Olympic Committee Athletes Commission of what they are with people who leave the sport and how they cope to deal with it. I think you just got to prepare best you can and understand that it is different. It's not going to be the same. And just have a really positive attitude, because if you get down to the dumps and it's quite hard to get out of. So you've got to have a really positive attitude, and I'm very lucky. You know, wife, 3 kids, like I said. I've got a house here in Perth. I love playing golf. I can go play golf. We live in the best country in the world, so I don't have too much to complain about. So you just got to really look at the positive things in your life. And one thing which helped me is I set goals. During my whole career, I'd set goals, yearly goals, monthly goals, and I'd try and achieve those goals. And now I do that as well. Outside, obviously retired, but with my business and with family, and I really am a goal setter and try and achieve those goals, and that gives me a focus, a drive to push on and keep learning and keep enjoying life.
What are the goals? Are they massive picture, or are they small individual goals, like separate step by step? How do you do that?
Well, like my hockey, it was a massive goal. Hockey was to win Olympic Games gold medal, which is the biggest of all time. But then you sort of work back from there. Okay, what do I need to do to achieve that? And I watched the documentary on Richie McGaw, how he wanted to be a great All Black, and then his dad or his uncle said, all right, what do you have to do to achieve that? And just work backwards and try and achieve step by step. So it starts off with this massive goal of having the best hockey brand in the world and having a really happy family life, a separate one, a family life and that sort of thing. And then what do I need to achieve? What steps do I need to get to achieve that? So the goal setting is something which has really helped me through that transition, and it makes me get up in the morning and want to go out there and achieve things just like I did when I was an athlete.
And towards the end of your career, you talk about having a second and third place, and golf was one for you at the start. But obviously with hockey, we're not in the position where we retire with pots of money. So you started your business, JDH, and a few questions. First of all, how was it balancing a business, family life, and playing hockey for Australia when you're also balancing the fact that you're 36, 37 and not a spring chicken?
It's difficult. It's really difficult because for me, at that part of my career, families was number one. So I wanted to spend as much time with them. I knew I was away a lot throughout the year with hockey, so every moment I wanted to cherish with my family. Young kids, you only get that once. So I wanted to be there for them. I don't have any parents here. My wife doesn't have any parents here. So we're here by ourselves. We don't have any help at all. So when I'm at home, I really wanted just to be with them and try and help out as much as possible. Hockey, I wish I had more time when I was playing to commit to it, to be there longer. But then when I was there longer, I felt bad for my family. So it's getting that balance is really, and managing that is really critical to be able to be successful at both. Then the JDH side was a bit more of a hobby. I was lucky I had another company who sort of brought it to me, and they were owners at that time with me, and they did a lot of the work, to be honest, and I just fed off my name and my contacts around the world to be able to build that brand. Once I retired though, the brand had built up pretty big and has been going in the right direction since then. So I bought my business partners out. Now I run it 100%, which is a great challenge and I love it. I love working for my own brand, my own company. It's great to be able to sponsor athletes, to be able to make good hockey sticks, and to do what I do. But yeah, that balancing is it's quite hard. And I really admire people, for rugby league players or NRL players, it's hard, but they're always in Australia. And they might have one away game, but then they're home for the majority. But for hockey players who, we earn not very much, below the average wage in Australia, probably half of that, we aren't financially rewarded. We're away for 3 months of the year, all because of their love for the sport. So to manage that, the family and the business was quite hard, especially the last couple of years of my life. But I'm very proud of how I did it and how I managed it, and my family still love me. JDH is going well, and I think I contributed in 2015-16.
Can you tell us about what's next for you?
Well, I want to keep growing the brand. It's going great. We've just got a new designer on board as well, so we've got a new fresh look coming up next year. I have a great relationship with the factory over in Pakistan and the factories in India and China as well. So I've got everything in place to be hopefully successful. The quality of the sticks is the biggest thing that I've been working on over the last few years, and just how to run a business was challenging as well. It's all right to sell hockey sticks and accessories and stuff, but you actually need to make a profit. So I've learned a lot about that over the last couple of years. And yeah, now starting to venture out. We're getting into apparel and teamwear uniforms for JDH, and already signed up a dozen clubs over in Holland, and a few in Germany and Australia. So that's venturing out a little bit into the uniforms, just trying to grow the brand. I love hockey. Obviously, I've loved it from a very young age, and now this role, this company that I have, this allows me to stay involved in the sport, and I want to set it up so it's a big brand, a huge brand. And then eventually, once my kids are older and the business is all set up, then I can go into coaching, is my plan.
Last question before, usually do a couple of quick questions at the end, but my last question is, you said at the start about one of the reasons why you wanted to play for Australia is a curiosity in the world and a love of travelling and seeing different places. You've done that, but you spent a lot of time in Holland. It's where you met your wife. It's where you spent a lot of your hockey playing days and played with some amazing people, would have worked with some amazing people, played awesome games. Here in Australia, the club scene is very different, and I think a lot of Australians probably look at the European club system with a little bit of envy. It's run so well, it seems so well supported, there's a lot of interest, they get great players such as yourself playing there. Do you think there's any chance of that happening in Australia?
I think there is, yeah. We just need to structure it right. We're a lot closer to Asia than the Europeans. So the Europeans, it's quite small compared to Australia. It's a little, Holland's so small, Belgium's so small, the UK. So they don't have to travel too far to have a national competition all year round, and to have the English Hockey League, the European Hockey League as well. So we can do it here. I just think we need to manage it right and have a look at soccer and how they structure their tournaments and their games, and maybe have a window between the July-August period where we can have some different competitions run. I think we need to learn from Europe and how they do it well, like the culture. Everyone at the club having a great game, and then everyone stays and has a bite to eat and a drink, and all the kids are out there playing until the sun goes down, and then they go home. Here in Australia, once there's a game finished, everyone goes home because they have to drive, and over there you just jump on your bike. So the culture's a little bit different, which we need to learn from, because obviously they're doing something right. They do not everything right over there, but they do a lot of good things which I think we should copy. I want this sport in this country to be successful for a number of years, like forever. And at the moment we're sort of plateauing in participation rate. But Hockey Australia and the States are starting to think outside the box and are starting to do things which I think are going to make improvements for the sport. And if I can help in any way, I would help. And I know we've got a lot of good people involved at the moment. Like Mark Knowles just recently signed up with Hockey Australia, which I think is awesome. All the Institute of Sport coaches are ex-players, whether it's Brent Livermore, Matt Wells, Jay Stacey. So we've got some awesome people in the right positions. We just need to figure out now, we need to work together rather than Western Australia versus Victoria versus New South Wales. Work all together so we come up with a great club season / AHL or whatever it's called now, and international games all around Australia. We want my kids, other kids all around the world to look up to you or to other hockey players, male or female, and want to aspire to them rather than wanting to be a rugby league or an AFL player, because hockey is a much better sport. It's played, like I said, anywhere. You can go to New York and play in a hockey team. You can go to India, to Japan, to wherever. play hockey and meet new friends, and you can travel to all these places. And that's the advantage that we've got. So I think we have the only way is up at the moment for Australian hockey, and not just at the international stage, but from the junior program all the way through to the masters. And I think we're on the right track from what I've been told from Hockey Australia and WA and other people. Everyone's ready to go. So hopefully the world's been in a pretty weird place over the last 6 months or longer, 8 months. I think it's given us time to reset and think about what's important. And Hockey Australia have done that, and I've done that with my business, and I'm sure every business or person has done that. So there's no better time than now to be able to plan ahead and think what's best for our sport in this country in particular.
Brilliant. Couple of questions to finish. First one, best player you've ever played against?
Turn Dwyer.
Just explain to us what made him so good.
No, he's electric. His give and go, his vision off the ball, his game smarts, his ability to score, tackle, left, right, his fitness, his attitude, his personality, everything. I learnt so much from Turn, and I went to Holland to play with Turn Dwyer. I got offered more money from other places, but I wanted to play with Turn. And he helped me become the player I am. I learnt so much, hopefully more. I learnt more from him than what he learnt from me, hopefully. I had a lot of success against him, against the Dutch team when he was playing, thankfully, as well. But we had some amazing games in Holland together for Bloomingdale. And we had a lot of success there for a number of years.
Without, the equivalent really is Messi joining Ronaldo at that time of your life. Both players were, World Player of the Year consecutive.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome to witness and play with. Best player you've ever played with, and it can't be Turn because.
Well, this is a difficult one. There's so many. I think Bevan George would be up there. Troy Elder. He was one of the most skillful guys who shouldn't have retired when he did. I wish he kept playing for another 4 years.
Troy Elder.
Yeah.
He's still playing it, isn't he?
Yeah, but not for Australia. Yeah, those two come to mind. Michael Brennan for that short period was unbelievable. Brent Livermore, Nosey, Eddie Ockenden. There's so many I've played with. They're all completely different. But yeah, Turn again is the best I've ever played with.
Final question. As I said before, there aren't many names in the greatest of all time shortlist, but you're definitely one of them with accolades to match. But as you said before, you've seen a lot of talented guys. You yourself are a talented guy, but there's something that took you from being a talented fella from Rockhampton to in that debate. What do you think it is?
My competitiveness. I hated losing. I loved winning. I hated, if I was a one-on-one battle at training against Nosey, I hate losing it, or Eddie, or anyone, or Turn. So that drove me to become the player that I was. One thing I did was I learnt so much, and that competitiveness is the one thing that made me learn quickly. And I just drove myself to a level I never thought I would get to. I thought maybe I'd play for Australia, maybe I'd go to the Olympics, maybe if I was really lucky I'd win a gold medal. But to win 2 World Cups and be a consistently good player from pretty much when I started until I finished, I never thought that was possible. And one thing I did when I did retire, which I was proud of, is I looked, you have a lot of regrets of things you could have done, could have trained, could have this. But one thing I was very proud of is I could look myself in the mirror and say, well done, you gave it everything you had. I never thought I'd be as fast as what I was. My change of direction was sharp. I was super fit. I was fitter than nearly everyone. So, yeah, I got to levels which I never thought I could get to. And it's because I was so competitive. Yeah, and I still am. I play touch footy out in the backyard with my kids. I want to be. But my wife, she says, why don't you just let them win for once? Or if I play Mario Kart or whatever, I have to win. But that competitiveness, it got ingrained in me. And like I just was tunnel vision there for a lot of years. I was selfish because I put hockey above everything else. I lived and breathed it. I'd go to sleep thinking about playing against Germany or playing against Holland or whatever. I'd wake up thinking about what I had to eat and drink to be, peak at my best if I had to go stretch or what I had to do. So I was so vision tunneled and so selfish and so competitive that it drove me to become the player I become.
And I'm going to just back that up with another question. If someone wants to aspire to be like you in that regard, one piece of advice
is to just learn every single day and become the best possible player or person that you can become. Because, like I said, I thought I could only reach a certain level, and I went way past that. But on the other hand, I have a backup plan just in case. Because if I did break my leg in 2007, 2004, whatever, and I never came back, I didn't have a plan. And it's important to have that balance in life, but to be really, really good at something, you have to commit to it. And I'm contradicting myself here a little bit by saying you've got to commit to it 100% and give everything, but you've got to have a little part of you to think, okay, what if this doesn't work out? So yeah, I'd say be the best player that you can possibly become and don't stop learning.
Brilliant. We'll leave it there. Thanks, James.
No worries.
That's it for another episode of The Help Side. Special thanks to my production team of David Moore and Tim Collier, plus countless others working behind the scenes to get this to you. You're the real MVPs. Again, if you're liking the show, please like, subscribe, you know the drill, and get in touch with us via our socials. We would love to hear from you. Anyway, that's all, folks. See you next week.